Now, North Korea is reported to have carried out what it says is the demolition of its Punggye-ri nuclear test site. Media reports say that there are a series of explosions that destroyed underground tunnels used for atomic tests. It comes as the arguments over a planned summit next month between President Trump and Kim Jong-un continue. Well, President Trump has been speaking about this on Fox and Friends on Thursday morning. Here's what he said.
June 12th, are you going to be in Singapore?
We'll see what happens. I mean, right now we're looking at it, we're talking about it, they're talking to us. We have certain conditions. We'll see what happens. But there's a good chance, and it would be a great thing for North Korea. If that happens, it'll be a great thing for North Korea. Most importantly, it would be a great thing for the world. So we'll see what happens. Right,
and you're okay with a phase-in of a denuclearization if confidence measures are required?
We're going to see. I'd like to have it done immediately, but, you know, physically, a phase-in may be a little bit necessary. It would have to be a rapid phase-in, but I'd like to see it done at one time.
Well, let's get more on that reported destruction of the North Korean nuclear site. Laura Bicker's in the South Korean capital, Seoul, for us now, and it sounds like they've done something, Laura.
Yes, we're getting a number of reports in, both from South Korean media and from the hand-picked international journalists who were allowed to witness the explosions. We know that the explosions were carried out both in the morning and the afternoon, and they seem to have collapsed several tunnels. The Punggye-ri site is North Korea's only known nuclear test site. It's where all 6 of its nuclear tests were carried out. And when it comes to the destruction and dismantling, North Korea announced last month that it was prepared to do so as a sign of goodwill, that it was willing to take part in the peace process and the peace talks with South Korea and eventually the United States, and also that it was willing to denuclearize. Since then, it's been an extraordinary day on this peninsula because in the early hours of this morning, state media from North Korea released a statement from one of Kim Jong-un's closest aides denouncing the Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, as stupid and ignorant for comparing the denuclearization process in Libya to that of North Korea. It seems to have insulted North Korea, and they feel it's inappropriate. And especially since last week, they warned the US after John Bolton, the National Security Advisor, made the same comments. And yet it has gone ahead with the dismantling of its nuclear test site.
I suppose some sort of power play before this summit was to be expected, though, wasn't it? Do people that you talk to, do they still expect it to go ahead?
It depends on who you're speaking to. Some will say this is a typical Pyongyang playbook, that of course they're going to try to push the United States. The problem comes when the discussions get down to nailing down the details of denuclearization, because the North wants to take a phased approach, a small approach where they give away some weapons, get something in return, and do that over a long period of time. The United States, as you've just heard from Donald Trump, prefers an all-in-one approach. So over 2 years, say, they give up all their weapons and eventually get economic aid in return. Those two viewpoints are very, very far apart. So to get them together and to get them beside a table, well, that would be very difficult. The difference in the rhetoric is also ramping up once again. Today from North Korea, what we heard is if you're not prepared to meet us in a meeting room, then we are prepared to go head-to-head in nuclear combat. So when it comes to the rhetoric, it's beginning to ramp up again. Here in South Korea, the government are staying calm. They're not commenting. They're still confident that the two leaders will take part in this summit. And when it comes to the people of North Korea and in South Korea, what we're hearing is this is something that they want to go ahead. So when it comes to the summit itself, this may be, certainly the blowing up of this nuclear test site may be a good sign. And certainly as they wake up in Washington, they'll be looking at it and wondering exactly what's gone on at this site way deep in the mountains.
OK, thank you, Laura. Laura Bicker there for us.